to the many leaders from the Jewish and Interfaith organizations assembled on the dais and in the crowd, as well as the many politicians, civic leaders, and diplomats who are also in attendance. Your support is very much appreciated. And I am deeply grateful for the tireless work of all the staff at UJA Federation and the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs who helped organize tonight's vigil. Thank you for your passion and for your dedication. Together, let us continue to find the inspiration to carry on our sacred work, to aid those who are suffering, and to make tomorrow a day free of hate. The horrific act of violence took place on Shabbat, the Jewish Sabbath, a day of peace, love, and family. To honor the memories of those we lost, Jewish federations across North America are encouraging everyone to participate in a Solidarity Shabbat this coming weekend. Please make every effort to attend the Shabbat service this Saturday. The deadliest act of anti-Semitism in North American history requires the greatest act of solidarity in response. There is no better way to show our resilience and to demonstrate that hatred will never tear us down. Let us pray for our families, friends, colleagues, and neighbors who have been cruelly touched by this tragedy. And for the victims, may their memories be for a blessing. I would now like to call to the podium three prominent leaders in the Jewish community to share a few words. The Rabbi of Beth Avraham Yosef of Toronto Congregation and a member of the Vada Rabbonim of Toronto, Rabbi Daniel Koropkin, Rabbi of Beth Israel Congregation and President of the Toronto Board of Rabbis, Rabbi Adam Cutler, and the Rabbi of Holy Blossom Temple, Rabbi Yael Splansky.
Shir HaMa'alot, a song of ascents. From out of the depths do I call out to you, O Lord. We are in the depths right now, in such pain, joining the victims of Charleston, of Quebec City, and all the victims of hate and intolerance around the world. We are here for all the victims. I stand here as a voice for my congregation's member, Dr. Robert Libman, brother of one of the victims, Joyce Feinberg. This week is Holocaust Education Week in Greater Toronto, where we take a week to better understand the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were mercilessly slaughtered simply because they were Jews. At our annual breakfast yesterday, an elderly survivor shared with me that Pittsburgh opens up so many old wounds. 75 years later, the world still has not learned, has not been able to get past the hate and the barbarism that we thought by now we could transcend. This past Shabbat, while 11 Jews in Pittsburgh were being slaughtered, synagogues throughout the world read from the Torah of the Akedah story, the account in the book of Genesis where God called upon Abraham to offer his son as a sacrifice. But at the very last moment, God's angel stayed Abraham's hand. Tragically, for reasons we cannot possibly understand, the angel of God did not stay the hand of the Pittsburgh executioner. We call upon you, our Father in heaven, please wipe away the tears, bring peace to our land, and give us resolve to never again allow for racism, bigotry, or hatred of any kind within our community. Amen.
It was reported there was supposed to be a double circumcision this past Shabbat at Tree of Life. Twin boys welcomed into the Jewish people. Is this the covenant into which they enter? Will their faith also determine their fate? The blood of our people has run freely for too long. We now count these 11 precious souls amongst the holy and the pure, who have died al Kiddush Hashem, who were murdered solely because they were Jews. Dear God, do not forget the cry of the humble. Let not their deaths be as a fleeting nightmare. Arm us with the fortitude to fight intolerance, to battle anti-Semitism, to quash hate on the streets, online, in our social circles, and in our hearts. Let us, all of us, right-minded people of all faiths, each in our own community, give bigotry no sanction. Hate begins with words. We saw this past Saturday where it ends. In devastation and agony, pained and aggrieved, we may worry, but we will not cower. Let us commit ourselves to grasp ever more strongly to that tree of life, to faith, to our community, to tolerance, and to love. May the memories of the righteous forever be for a blessing.
The Israeli poet Yehuda Amichai wrote this poem entitled Poem Without an End. Inside the brand new museum, there's an old synagogue. Inside the synagogue is me. Inside me, my heart. Inside my heart, a museum. Inside the museum, a synagogue. Inside it, me. Inside me, my heart, inside my heart, a museum. This attack was just like all other attacks. In malls, in movie theaters, in schools, God help us, because guns do not discriminate. And at the same time, this attack was not like all other attacks, because the man who was holding this gun, this time, was hunting for Jews. This attack was an attack on all good people everywhere, on people of faith and people of no faith. It was an attack on newcomers and refugees. It was an attack on those who stand up to protect the newcomers and the refugees. And yes, alas, this was an attack on the Jewish people. It is the oldest story in the book, the world's oldest, most tenacious and pernicious kind of hatred. The Jewish people is very small. Today, we are less than 0.2% of the world's population. This is why we rejoice whenever a Jewish baby is born. This is why we grieve over every Jewish life lost. When a Jewish life is cut short in Pittsburgh, or Paris, or Jerusalem, we experience it as a very personal loss. We mourn uniquely now for Joyce Feinberg. Joyce was raised and educated and married at Holy Blossom Temple, where her parents and her teachers taught her Jewish belonging, Jewish identity, Jewish history, and Jewish joy. She knew who she was, and she knew to whom she belonged. And now the whole world knows too. I will conclude with the same prayer I offered the last time I stood here in this city square 6 months ago. We gathered in solidarity with those who lost loved ones to a van fueled and driven by hate. It's a prayer we say each night when darkness comes, and we might otherwise grow fearful. Instead, we muster our own courage, and we put one foot in front of the other, and we call upon God, who is everywhere, to guide us along the path of righteousness and justice, to protect us along our way, and to see us through until morning's light. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Grant that we may lie down in peace, O God, and raise us up to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Shield us from hatred. Give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. Guard our coming and our going, that now and always we may have life and peace. Amen. And now it is my true privilege to introduce Judy Winberg. She is the president of Holy Blossom Temple. She is the past chair of Jewish Family and Child Services. And last Shabbat morning, when we were together in our sanctuary, the news came through our congregation, and Judy whispered to me, you know, I have a cousin in Pittsburgh. By Sunday morning, the inconceivable was confirmed. Joyce Feinberg, Aleha Shalom, was among the 11 victims. We are honored by the presence of 20 of her relatives tonight. We gather around them now in solidarity and in grief. Tomorrow they will fly to Pittsburgh for Joyce's funeral. Tonight, Judy will represent the family and offer up this prayer for peace.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim this message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country, that it may ever be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship among the inhabitants of all lands, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Lord our God, who blesses your people, Israel, with peace. Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbis, Judy, for your powerful words. Judy, all of us in this square tonight are with you and your family. May Joyce Feinberg's memory be forever blessed. I would now like to welcome Rabbi Noam Katz, who will lead us in a song of hope and strength.
Rav Nachman of Bratslav once wrote, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar ma'od. All of the world is but a narrow bridge. The most important thing is that we not be afraid. You'll find your words in your pamphlet, and if you have the lit up candles, raise them up as a source of light, as a source of hope. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od. V'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar, lo lefachet, lo lefachet la. V'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar, lo lefachet la.
Thank you, Rabbi Katz. There are many elected officials here this evening from all levels of government, and I would like to again thank all of you for your support and for joining us here in solidarity with the Jewish community. I would now like to welcome to the podium the Honorable Bill Blair, Minister of Border Security and Organized Crime Reduction, to bring remarks on behalf of the Government of Canada.
Thank you, Adam. Good evening, dear friends. I am honored but very sad to be here today. I have been asked by the Prime Minister to speak on his behalf. He offers his condolences to the community, to Joyce Flanberg's family. But he's asked if I would come and speak to him on his behalf tonight. Dear friends, we are gathered here this evening. We are united in our grief and sorrow at the tragic loss of 11 lives that were taken in a senseless act of hatred and violence. The victims of this horrible crime were mothers and fathers, grandparents, beloved family members and friends. They were united by their community and by their faith, and they were attacked as they prayed. And while we gathered united in grief, let us also stand united in strength and resolve. The scourge of hatred and violence can never be tolerated in any part of our society. We all know that tragically anti-Semitism has throughout history been the most pernicious form of hatred, and that the Jewish people have long suffered and tragically stood alone far too often in the face of violence born in hatred. But they must stand alone no more. I have witnessed many times in many communities and other faiths that have suffered the hatred and violence of ignorance and intolerance. And it has always been the Jewish community that came first to stand with them. They knew hatred, and they knew injustice. And yet they showed us and the world that they will not surrender to fear and to hatred, and that instead have called upon all of us to unite and challenge hatred and anti-Semitism wherever and however it rears its ugly head. And so tonight, as we gather here, as we grieve together and unite together, let us also unite to be strong in the face of fear. Let us unite to always challenge intolerance and hatred. And when we hear or see any act of intolerance, and in particular anti-Semitism, let us always stand united and challenging. And let us do this as a community, but let us do this in the memory of the so many who have lost their lives to hatred. So let us stand together. It is what Canadians stand for. The Jewish community's values are Canada's values. And tonight, all of Canada stands with the Jewish community in our resolve never to give in to hatred. God bless you all.
Thank you, Minister Blair. I would now like to welcome to the podium the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, to bring remarks on behalf of the province.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. As far as you can see out there, people are here, and my condolences, my sincere condolences to the Jewish community. And to the organizers here tonight, to tonight's vigil, thank you for providing this opportunity for us to come together as a community, to grieve, to remember, and to stand united in the face of anti-Semitism and hatred. I'm here tonight with our PC team to tell you that our government of Ontario and the people of Ontario are standing shoulder to shoulder with the Jewish community, our friends, and our neighbors. And I can tell you, my friends, we will always, always stand with you, and we will never, ever waver. I want to thank you, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier Ford. I would now like to call to the podium Denzel Min Wong, Deputy Mayor of Toronto, to bring remarks on behalf of the city.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here tonight, representing Mayor John Tory and Toronto City Council. On behalf of all Toronto residents, I extend condolences to the families who lost loved ones in this terrible shooting, and we continue to pray for the recovery of those injured. While we mourn all the lives lost in Saturday's horrific shooting, our city mourns the death of Joyce Feinberg. She grew up here and attended the Holy Blossom Temple in North Toronto and was married there. We extend our condolences to the Feinberg family and all of those who had their relatives and friends taken from them by this heinous act. We are standing here tonight as a community united against hatred. We will always stand with the Jewish community against hate and violence. To the people of Pittsburgh, we stand with you as you grieve and as you come together as a community to move forward. This loss of life and suffering is senseless. It is terrifying. But I know it will not stop how we all live together. It will not stop how we welcome people of all faiths in our cities. The fact that communities across North America, including right here tonight, are standing together to support Pittsburgh and its Jewish community show how strong and resilient our communities can be. Tonight, the message from right here in Lastman Square is clear and united. We will stand up to hate in all of its forms. We will stand up to violence, and we will always stand together against evil. May the memories of all of those who lost their lives be a blessing.
The prophet Isaiah teaches us, Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn the ways of war anymore.
Chair of UJ Federation of Greater Toronto. Acts of violence and hate against the Jewish community, wherever they occur, are an attack on the entire Jewish people. We continue to be shocked and devastated by the loss of life resulting from this hateful act of anti-Semitic violence. We cannot imagine the immense impact that the trauma from this attack will have on the families of those we've lost, or who were injured, or of those in the community who experienced the heinous act firsthand. Our thoughts, prayers, and deepest sympathies are with the families of the victims and all those affected by this despicable and cowardly attack. including the innocents who were injured and the heroic first responders who put their own lives at risk to help the community. On behalf of UJ Federation of Greater Toronto and all of us gathered here, and in fact our entire community, I hope and pray for their full and speedy recovery in both body and spirit. I will now recite the names of the 11 victims, following which I ask you to join me for a moment of silence in their memory. Joyce Feinberg, Richard Godfrey, Rose Mallinger, Jerry Rabinowitz, Cecil Rosenthal, David Rosenthal, Bernice Simon, Sylvain Simon, Daniel Stein, Melvin Wax, Irving Younger. Thank you. I'd like to invite Cantor Ezra back to the podium as he recites the Kel Miller Rachamim prayer.
Hail, my Rachamim, Shochein b'meromim, Say menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashechina b'ma'alot kedoshim u'tehorim kezohar harakia mazhirim et nishmot et charasar shenehergu bishat tefilatam b'kilat tree of life or the simcha b'Pittsburgh b'gan Eden Shalom al mishkavotehem v'nomar Amen.
We must work together to build a future of light, of hope, and of peace. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'himru amen. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. We rise together for Hatikvah.
I would like to thank again all the people who have come in solidarity and support of the Jewish community. Thank you to all the esteemed religious leaders, to Minister Blair, Premier Ford, Andrea Horvath, and Denzel Min Wong, and to our co-sponsors, and to everyone who came out tonight. I remind you and urge you to participate in this weekend's Solidarity Shabbat and to continue to stand up against anti-Semitism and hate. Thank you and good night.